All right, so this is a suggestion via Discord. Let's jump into it. Let's see where this video takes us, guys. It's coming from the channel Navy Signal.
Envigado, Colombia. U.S. Naval Intelligence has zeroed in on a threat that could spread across the region. A rusty garage sits on a forgotten industrial site flanked by unmarked trucks. Behind that unassuming door, 5 underground reactors hum day and night.
Like the real Breaking Bad?
Ruthless trade is underway between cartels in Colombia and Venezuela, a shipment destined for the crowded streets of the United States. For 3 months, the FBI and Colombian National Police have been tracking the trail. Shell companies, ghost trucks, encrypted money transfers, every clue points to this moment. Today, an operation is launched to stop this threat once and for all. Can the U.S. military dismantle this criminal organization before
it's one of
too
these.
late? Or will Tren de Aragua make a deal and pump money into the market?
Yeah, guys, send me more of these.
I'll tell you the truth. At 2:05 a.m., October 8th, 2025, in the industrial outskirts of Envigado,
this
Colombia,
just happened.
the night was silent, too silent. A single light flickered above a grimy auto garage, its steel door rattling in the warm wind. To any passerby, it looked like a workshop for trucks and a hidden tunnel leading to a nearby riverbank, an escape route for shipments bound for Venezuela. Even the electricity meters were hacked to conceal the energy drain of a chemical reactor farm. Every small detail screamed industrial precision, not chaos. This was no garage. It was a war machine disguised as a workshop, built to manufacture addiction by the ton.
Right.
And as the clock struck 2:15 a.m., the agents watching from the ridge knew if they didn't strike soon, another 2.3 tons of pure poison would vanish toward the Caribbean by dawn. The discovery in Envigado was only the opening note. Over the next 48 hours, October 8th to October 10th, 2025,
Bro, that was
a
last
scramble
week.
of analysis, phone taps, and satellite imagery pulled the rest of the map into focus. FBI analysts worked side by side with Policía Nacional cyber teams, tracing payment trails, GPS pings, and encrypted chat logs. Every breadcrumb pointed the same way. This was not local crime. It was an export machine.
Right. A gigantic
Forensic
one.
accountants followed wire transfers into shell companies in Panama and Curacao. Phone records showed rendezvous coordinates. GPS telemetry placed a convoy leaving Envigado at 2:30 a.m., October 9th, heading east. CCTV from small ports recorded the same white box trucks turning up at an isolated landing on the Gulf of Paria 2 nights later. Intelligence analysts estimated the loading plan: 1 maritime shipment every 3 weeks, each carrying approximately 4,000 pounds, approximately 1,814 kilograms, of finished product sealed in industrial crates. The implications were brutal. One such shipment, if it reached distribution networks intact, would translate to tens of millions of individual doses on U.S. streets. Intelligence.
Yeah, guys, listen. I just got wrapped up into this here. Here's the thing. And we're supposed to believe that there are no like heads of state that are like absolutely involved in this. I mean, I would think that if you're running such a gigantic organization, specifically in a random country, right, then there are probably a lot of people on the take here. So even though like a lot of these heads of state are being like, listen, they've never had anything to do with my election, et cetera, how can we believe it, guys? Because I mean, if like this is being ran in the United States of America, I would suspect that either someone is definitely on the take, okay, or they just haven't gotten caught yet, if that makes any sense here. Like, not at this scale. I'm not even sure anything at this scale would probably work well. Honestly, if you were to use too much electricity, I mean way too much, like outside of the realm of utilizing electricity for like regular household things, I can imagine you start to be looked at in a very odd way here, guys. So again, there has to be someone getting money from this.
The route was organized with military precision. Night transits, decoy manifests, and a chain of local handlers waiting on Venezuelan shores, links to a branch of Tren de Aragua. U.S. Navy maritime surveillance confirmed 2 vessels on parallel courses off the Venezuelan coast, loitering on predictable windows when small boats could come alongside undetected. By early October 10th, there was no longer any doubt. What began as a garage in Envigado was a single node in a continental conveyor belt, a factory on land, and a highway across the sea. The question shifted from discovery to disruption. How to cut the line before the first 4,000-pound shipment vanished into the night, Would the Americans move fast enough, or watch a billion-dollar empire expand unchecked? At 1:30 a.m. on October 11th, 2025, the Envigado industrial area was foggy and silent. Only the hum of the generators betrayed life inside the gang garage. Then a whisper on the radio rang out, "Go, go, go." In less than 5 seconds, darkness erupted. 3 coordinated units, the FBI Hostage Rescue Team, the Colombian Police Special Operations Group, and U.S. Navy observers stationed offshore with SEALs, launched the attack with pinpoint precision.
Of course we did.
52 armed agents converged on 3 sides. At
was
1:31
mandatory,
a.m.,
guys.
a shaped charge tore through the steel door like paper, and the first breaching team burst in. The silence was broken by 47 seconds of automatic gunfire. Inside, chaos and chemical fires intertwined. The air was thick with the smell of ammonia and gunpowder. 15 cartel gunmen, some armed with AK-103s and Uzis, fired wildly from behind steel drums and chemical tanks through the smoke. A stray bullet punctured the reactor's steam line, a one-time hit.
Bro, understand what he just said. They fired wildly. All right, so telling you, and also pointing out the precision of the United States of America versus the lack of precision of these absolute deviants.
The explosion sent molten debris flying across the lab, incinerating shelves of precursor chemicals. A wall thermometer shattered as temperatures soared to 1,200 degrees Fahrenheit,
by fire, I'm guessing?
649 degrees Celsius. But the agents held their ground. Through the flames, they advanced in tight formation, chanting slogans over the din. One SEAL was hit by shrapnel and wounded in the arm, but refused to evacuate, covering his team as they made their way to the basement. The battle lasted only 7 minutes, but in that time, the agents fired more than 1,400 rounds. When the gunfire stopped, silence fell. Then came a shocking revelation.
What?
Behind a false wall, a cold concrete vault. Inside, 6,000 pounds of pure stacked like glass bricks, wrapped in plastic labeled auto filter. Its U.S. street value exceeds $480 million, enough for nearly 30 million doses, a figure roughly equivalent to the population of Texas.
Right.
Nearby,
Okay.
5 men were found shackled, their skin burned from chemical exposure, forced to work to keep production going. As the last gunman fell and the smoke cleared, the scale became clear. The garage wasn't a lab. It was a battlefield disguised as a factory, capable of producing more than 120,000 pounds a year, a billion-dollar pipeline of poison hidden in plain sight.
Jesus
As dawn
Christ,
broke
guys.
over Envigado, the code name of the operation echoed over the intercom.
Let's hear it.
Site secured. The heart of the machine destroyed. They thought the battle was over inside that factory, but they were wrong. What happened next turned the Caribbean into a war zone. Don't look away. The truth is about to be revealed. At 3:02 a.m. on October 11th, 2025, the battle that began in Envigado turned east, toward the Caribbean. The garage was burning behind them, but the FBI's encrypted transmissions revealed worse. 2 ships were already offshore. Data recovered from seized phones showed coordinates in the Gulf of Paria, 35 nautical miles off the Venezuelan coast, where a deal was about to take place. On those ships, the last remaining link in the pipeline, floated more than 4,000 pounds of pure packed in steel barrels, and about $80 million was to be traded. The U.S. Navy and Colombian Coast Guard had been monitoring the operation for hours. Off the coast of Venezuela, the USS Wichita, a littoral combat ship, and a Poseidon P-8A patrol aircraft tracked the gang's vessels using infrared. One was a rusted freighter called the San Miguel, escorted by 2 smaller speedboats carrying Tren de Aragua gunmen.
They're not going to make
Naval
it, guys.
radar confirmed there were 12 armed men on board, with machine guns mounted on the bow. They were ready to fight for their billions of dollars. The gang had relied on the fog and darkness as cover. Instead, it became their trap. At 3:19 a.m., the seas were rough. A Navy MH-60R Seahawk helicopter flew low, its searchlight piercing the black waves. U.S. Navy close! The gang's response was a hail of bullets, tracer bullets tracing red arcs across the water. The Seahawk listed sharply as its .50 caliber GAU-21 barreled
The
forward.
50 cals?
One of the gunboats caught fire, shells exploding in a storm of
Yeah,
fire.
that we're gonna make it.
Below,
I'm telling you guys.
two
They're not
RHIB
making
teams raced ahead at 45 knots, skimming the waves. The first team boarded the San Miguel under cover of gunfire. Grenades rolled across the deck. Flashlight, smoke, screams. Within 8 minutes, the gang fighters were subdued. Inside the cargo hold, sailors found steel drums containing 2,100 pounds of
A whole
highly
lot of
refined
craziness, guys.
methamphetamine,
Yeah.
along with another 1,900 pounds in nearby floating tanks. Cargo the crew had attempted to dump overboard to destroy the evidence. By 3:47
Yeah, that wasn't
a.m.,
gonna work,
it was
bro.
all over. The cargo ship burned silently on the horizon as dawn began to break. 17 cartel members were arrested, and more than $350 million in were recovered from the sea. A secret raid in Colombia turned into a full-scale naval confrontation, one that proved one thing: even in the middle of the ocean, there is nowhere to hide. By October 12th, 2000.
Hold on. Wait. Listen, so I've definitely seen that footage. I'm sure everyone has seen that footage, right? The unclassified footage, specifically of that boat being absolutely obliterated, right? And this is the story of it, guys. Listen, I love my country, guys. Listen, all right, like the level of like detail, all right, that what happened behind the scenes for that to happen, and that's what we're encountering now. We're hearing the story of the behind the scenes of that super viral footage that has been kind of moving around. And bro, I know they're going to keep doing it, right? There's just too much money in it. There's too many people that are involved. So guys, I know they're going to keep doing it, but I don't know if they're going to continue to do it over water, bro. I don't think so, because I think we have officially locked things down.
In 2025, the fires had cooled, but the shockwaves were only beginning. The Envigado factory lay in ruins, the San Miguel freighter smoldered beneath the Caribbean dawn, and the operation survivors sat in handcuffs aboard the USS Wichita. For the FBI and Colombian authorities, this was not just a victory, it was a revelation.
Yeah, this is a big deal.
Inside waterproof drives seized from the ship's control room were over 2.4 terabytes of encrypted data. When decrypted at the Bureau's Miami field office, the files exposed a global network, 51 offshore accounts, 7 shell corporations, and transfers exceeding $93 million routed through banks in Panama, Curacao, and Hong Kong.
Jeez.
The intelligence linked the Clan del Golfo and Tren de Aragua not merely as partners, but as co-founders of a new transnational syndicate designed to supply 20,000 pounds of narcotics per quarter, enough to flood the U.S. with over 100 million doses every 3 months.
Again, too much money is
The numbers
involved.
defied belief. 1 terabyte of seized data equaled the production records of an entire industrial sector. Investigators confirmed that the captured factory was only one of 4 identical facilities across Colombia and Venezuela, each capable of producing $400 million worth of monthly. Had they not been stopped, this alliance could have generated nearly $5 billion annually, rivaling the GDP of small nations.
I mean,
But amid the
guys,
figures and forensic charts, the human stories struck hardest. The 5 rescued workers, victims of forced labor, told agents they were trafficked across borders, paid less than $15 a week to handle lethal chemicals without protection. One man's hands had been burned down to the bone from handling oil.
oh,
Their testimonies turned evidence into outrage. By October 15th, joint U.S.-Colombian forces launched follow-up raids, freezing more than 70 bank accounts and seizing 9 vessels linked to the smuggling corridor. The president of Colombia called the operation a turning point against chemical warfare disguised as commerce. For the United States, the message was clear and cold. The war on had entered a new phase. Cartels were no longer street gangs. They were industrial syndicates
Multinationals.
with fleets, budgets, and laboratories.
yeah.
And as the waves rolled quietly across the Caribbean, the wreck of San Miguel stood as a warning. The ocean remembers. And this time, America had answered back. As dawn rose over the Caribbean, smoke still curled from the charred wreckage of San Miguel. The sea, calm once again, carried the faint shimmer of oil and ash, traces of a battle that ended one empire and exposed another. For the FBI, the Colombian Policía Nacional, and the U.S. Navy, Operation Silent Harbor would be remembered not just for the
Operation
tons of
Silent
narcotics
Harbor.
destroyed, but for the truth it revealed. The war had evolved into an industrial, multinational conflict fought across borders, screens, and oceans. In less than a week, the task force had dismantled a billion-dollar syndicate, seized over 10,000 pounds of high-purity, rescued human captives, and uncovered a financial network spanning 3 continents. Yet behind those statistics lay something deeper. A warning. The enemy no longer wore gang tattoos or hid in jungles. They operated in boardrooms, disguised as logistics companies, with accountants instead of gunmen. Their laboratories were cleaner than hospitals. Their profits larger than oil exports. America's fight against this new cartel order would not be measured in arrests or seizures alone, but in vigilance. In the courage to act before the next shipment left port, before the next garage became a factory. The Clan del Golfo and Tren de Aragua believed the ocean would protect them. Instead, it became their grave. For the sailors, agents, and officers who risked everything, victory was not triumph. It was duty fulfilled. The kind of duty that costs sleep, that leaves scars, but saves lives thousands of miles away. And as the sun climbed higher over the Caribbean horizon, one truth lingered above the smoke and silence. The ocean remembers who it swallows and who it spares. If you believe America must never close its eyes to threats that rise from the sea, then stand with us. Like, share, and keep this story alive. Because only vigilance keeps the waves from turning black again.
All right, guys, and the name of the channel this video came from was called Navy Signal. If you like this type of thing, make sure you guys go ahead and check them out. I'll leave the link in the description. It's interesting. I don't think that this is ever going to stop, guys. I mean, it would be great if people were not massively consistently addicted to all types of narcotics. It'd be great because then obviously the money itself would be lesser for the people who are trying to flood cities and destroy the country with, just straight narcotic users. Again, right? It is what it is here. But the people that were obliterated, let's just say this year on the sea, that stopped nothing. Don't get me wrong here. It stopped that, right? But the people who are going to consistently do this already have contingencies and things like this. Again, these are not like the common, typical, random, nobody that's doing these things, guys. These are gigantic multinational organizations and companies specifically. And when he said boardroom, this is exactly what's happening here. You have regular, common, typical, companies that are basically selling nothing, but for some reason they're making billions upon billions of dollars, guys. Look at those numbers, right? Obviously, shell companies are involved here, and all types of absolute crazy, guys. There are people. This is bigger than any one person because there's too much money here, right? The fact that we as a society basically put so much effort and focus, let's say specifically on finances, you can't be surprised that someone has found a way to specifically do the absolute debaucherous. They don't care about people, right? Don't get me wrong here. There are some Fortune 500 companies who don't care about people. They just do it differently, right? But it's being ran and given to people who are then going and creating legitimate, the best armed militias you possibly could find on Earth, let's say, to protect some of these structures and protect their assets. There are a whole lot of legitimate people being sucked up into these things. Again, if you guys have seen Breaking Bad, there are a lot of legitimate people who just get sucked up into this because of the amount of money that's involved in it. And that's just a reality here. There's just too much money here. But what can we do about that? I have no idea, guys, right? Listen, if they are sending the boats, I want to know about the submarines, if that's a thing, because that actually, for me personally, sounds more realistic than the big shipments actually being done in a way that it can be seen from any type of surveillance aircraft and things like that, guys. I would suspect that things are being done with submarines, specifically if they have the ability to afford all of what they can afford. You understand what I'm saying here, guys? I think the boat is probably the gimme. That's the one that they're saying, if it makes it, cool, it makes us some money. But the real one that they were focusing on for the last hour, right, is not even 10% of what's being shipped, let's say, in a more discreet manner, let's say, right? You see what I'm saying here? That's just my opinion on that there. But all right, listen, guys, if you guys do want to see more of this type of content, just let me know. We'll get into it, guys. I think you guys have sent me a couple of videos from the channel you want me to check out, so we shall. Right? But in the meantime, I'll catch you guys later. If you guys are new here again, please like and subscribe.